Travelling with a disability doesn't need to be difficult.
Every day we dance and life's been smiling. I'm delighted 'cause I got you.
Hello zebras, how's it going? I hope you guys have had a wonderful week. I haven't really done much this week. I did get a new gadget. It is a Fitbit. I really wanted to be conscious about keeping track of my heart rate, especially because I was told that I have POTS. So it came in the post today, so I'm still kind of figuring out how to use it properly. But I will keep you updated with that. So today I want to talk about travelling with an illness and a disability. This past year I have had the chance to travel quite extensively. When I finished my degree, I decided to take a year out so I could earn a little bit of money and take some time out for myself because I think I needed it. And the first port of call was America because ever since I was a little girl, I have had this fascination with Los Angeles and I really wanted to see it. So that is where I went. I went to New York, Los Angeles and Florida, and I was away for a month. So that's quite a hefty amount of time with a disability. Obviously didn't take my chair because I didn't have it then. In March/April I went to Barcelona with my boyfriend and his sisters. Again, I didn't take my wheelchair, but I was still sick. And then obviously in the last couple of weeks I went to Tenerife with a wheelchair. So I will talk about my experiences travelling with a wheelchair in the second half of this video. And on the first half I will talk about just generally travelling with an illness. So because I was travelling to America, I was actually taking quite a bit of medication at the time. So it's very important that you stock up on your medications before you go. I need to stress this. I didn't want to find myself in a position where I'd run out of medication and desperately needed it and couldn't afford it. So I stocked up on a month's worth of medication to take with me. Now, the thing that I was really worried about was getting my medication through security. They always say on terms and conditions of like the airports and TSA and stuff that you should carry with you a copy of your prescription and all the medication in the exact bottles that they came in. Now, I would always recommend that you do take a copy of your prescription with you just in case, but I was very concerned that they would see my incredible amount of medication and be like, what's going on here? And I thought I was going to have a really hard time with it. They didn't even bother to check, they didn't ask for any prescriptions, they just waved it through, which is a bit scary if you think about it. In regards to the oral solution that I was taking, I think I took that to Barcelona with me, and they were a bit iffy about it because it was in a bottle of 150ml rather than 100ml. So they took it away and they tested it and they came back and they said, oh, it's fine, whatever. But there was some issue with getting that through security. I was pulled aside and patted down. And now when I went to America, I obviously had a lot of things that I wanted to do and see, and it was hard cramming it all into the amount of time that we had. We stayed in New York for 5 days, which was so cool. It was really good. Now, I'd been lucky enough to already go to New York with my university, so I'd seen a lot of the monuments and stuff that normal tourists would go and see. However, my boyfriend had not been to New York before and he really wanted to do all the things you would expect. So we had a lot to cram in into 5 days, and I found by the end of 5 days I was pretty exhausted. So I would recommend, if you've got a chronic illness, just to take your time. You don't have to rush and see everything, no matter how tempting it is. Your health is definitely far more important. You could always come back. That's what I try to tell myself. You can always come back and see it. It might be expensive to do, but it's still going to be there in 10 years' time. When I went to Barcelona, I didn't take my own advice. When we arrived, his family wanted to go straight out, and his sisters are very sporty. His sisters actually compete in marathons and half marathons and massive bike rides, so they are physically a lot fitter than I am, and they obviously wanted to explore the city a bit, and that put me in a little bit of a vulnerable position. I kept my mouth shut because I wanted to be polite. I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to be the party pooper of the group. The next morning, I paid for it. I spent the early hours of the morning with my head down the toilet, being very violently sick. I just didn't feel great, and it definitely put a dampener on the holiday. Now, if you're like me and you have intolerances to certain foods or you're on a specific diet, I would definitely recommend looking up how to ask for the things that you will need in their language, just certain specific words. So for me, I can't eat gluten at all. So I visited Barcelona and I also visited Tenerife, and they both speak Spanish. And I needed to know how to ask if something was without gluten. So that would be sin gluten, without gluten. So I think that's very important that you look up how to say these certain things, because you don't want to accidentally eat something that you shouldn't and get sick. Now, let's talk about travelling with a wheelchair. I was definitely very concerned about the whole process of getting my wheelchair through security, getting it on a plane, getting it back from the plane, travelling around the island in my wheelchair, and I was convinced that it was going to be this horrific, stressful, awful experience, and it wasn't. I was pleasantly surprised. So I did a lot of reading after I got my wheelchair, and I looked at the terms and conditions for the airline that we were travelling with, which was Jet2. They suggested to contact the airline beforehand and let them know, so I did, and they were very nice about it, and they walked me through exactly what I needed to do. I didn't need to pay anything extra because that's discrimination if you do. So when we got to the airport, we went to check in, and the women were very nice at the desk. And let me tell you, being in a wheelchair has perks. Mobility, and I think people with prams get to go through the express queue and through a different line, which is less congested, which is brilliant because that's the worst part about airports. I just can't stand in queues anymore. I get dizzy and sick and I hurt. So we were in and out security within 5 minutes. It was really, really fast. They took me through the actual security bit to the other side, and obviously because I was in a wheelchair, they couldn't put me through a scanner, so she had to pat me down, which was fine. But she asked me where I was hurting, if I was hurting anywhere. She warned me exactly what she was going to do. She was very lovely about it. And then now you have the option at an airport whether you want to take your own wheelchair or use the wheelchairs that they have there. The wheelchairs that they have there are not self-propelled wheelchairs, so you have to be with someone to be pushed through security. So keep that in mind if you are travelling by yourself and need to use a wheelchair. I would take your own. When we got to the gate, there was someone waiting there who I presume was with Mobility Services, and they took us through the bit where you go to board the plane, and someone literally met us at the foot of the plane to take my wheelchair off me, and that was it. Bye-bye wheelchair. When we landed, I was a little bit nervous about, are they going to bring it to the foot of the plane? Is it going to go on the carousel? Is it in one piece? Please be in one piece. My chair was waiting for me pretty much like the same as where I left it, so it was brought right to me. Whereas when I landed in Manchester, I had to be collected in one of the airport wheelchairs and had to be taken through to where baggage was, and then my chair came through with someone else. So I guess it varies from different airports and different airlines and how they want to deal with it, but you're going to get your chair back, fingers crossed. The chair made it through in one piece. It was fine. I was very relieved to see it. When I first thought about the prospect of being in a wheelchair, I just thought, that's it, I'm never going to travel. And I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to go and see LA so much without a wheelchair, was because I was scared that I was never going to be able to do that once I had to use a chair. And that is wrong. Let me tell you, that is absolutely wrong. You can do anything you want to. Nobody is stopping you but yourself. And I presumed that once I had got my wheelchair that it was going to be such a fuss and hassle getting it to the place, and I was wrong again, and I had the best time, and I was able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. One of the days we spent at the zoo, and I wouldn't have been able to handle more than an hour because I just can't stand for long periods of time anymore. I can't walk far enough, and that would have definitely spoilt our day out. But with my wheelchair, I was able to stick it for the entire day, and I had the best time. So I don't want you to feel scared or worried about it. These people at the airports are there to help you. They made it so easy and so pleasant for me to get through security and stuff with my wheelchair. Everyone was so lovely. I would definitely recommend, if you're umming and ahhing about taking a wheelchair, to definitely do it. Yeah, don't worry about it and have a wonderful time. The world is waiting to be explored, and like I said, the only person who is stopping you is you and your fears, which until you've tried it, you don't know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, that seems to be about it for this year. In regards to travelling, I haven't got any other trips planned. As much as I want to, I just can't afford it anymore. I'm all spent up. But if you guys have got any trips coming up, I would love to hear where you're going to. Hopefully this video has been insightful and has given you peace of mind to travel yourself, especially with a chronic illness and mobility aids. So I guess that's about it from me this week. Thank you as always for watching. Enjoy speaking to you about chronic illnesses. Oh, and before I go, something exciting might be happening. My story might be being featured on the EDS UK social medias or their newsletter, which is called Fragile Links. If that happens, I will let you know, but I was contacted and asked for my story because they would like to run it, so I will keep you updated. But until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good week, guys. Bye!